Good morning, good morning. Shh. If everyone could please take a seat. If everyone could please take a seat so we can begin. Today is Friday, September 7th. I want to welcome you to City Hall. This council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. With the public is welcome. Madam Clerk, we do have a quorum. Would you call a roll?
Blumenfield, Bonin, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Harris, Dawson, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rodriguez, Rue, Wesson. 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you so much. The first order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
O'Farrell moves, Bonin seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Blumenfield moves, Cedillo seconds. Continue.
Mr. President, given the upcoming council recess, would council like all items today to go forthwith, sir?
Without objection, so ordered.
Item 1 is an item notice for public hearing, and there are cards, sir.
Then continue.
Items 2 through 13 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Okay, let's prepare to vote on those items. Mr. O'Farrell. Let's hold item 5 and prepare to vote on the remaining items. Please, Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Continue.
Items 14 through 24 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, those items are now before this body. Do you have cards on these items?
Yes, sir, there are cards on all items.
Okay, then let's move forward.
Items 25 and 26 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Okay, I've been informed. Let's hold item 25. Prepare to vote on item 26. Mr. Rue? Okay, we'll hold 25 and 26. So that brings us where?
That brings council to presentations, items called special or general public comment, sir.
Mr. O'Farrell, are you ready? Would you like to begin? If Mr. O'Farrell is ready, then the floor is his for the first presentation of the day.
Yes, sir. Okay, good lady. Colleagues, I am glad to stand here with the Executive Board of the Hominid Men Los Angeles chapter. And it says in my notes in Hollywood, but they are everywhere. And their office is in Glassell Park, where I live, within walking distance of my house. Founded in 1968, it is the Hominid Men Los Angeles' belief in the strong mind and a strong body concept. Hominid Men provides the Armenian American youth with moral, physical, and social education. And just stopping by their facility over on San Fernando Road, you'll get a strong sense of that. And it's just a beehive of activity, mentoring youth 24/7. In addition, it exposes the youth to the wealth of Armenian culture and heritage, as well as prepares outstanding, law-abiding Armenian American citizens. Los Angeles chapter is the first chapter in the Western United States and currently serves over 300 youth through athletic programs and scouting programs which are affiliated with the Boy Scouts of America. Today, Hominid Men continues to grow at an unprecedented rate with roughly 100 chapters and 30,000 members on 5 continents. The ever-increasing challenges of contemporary society indicate that now more than ever, each and every one of us must share the Hominid Men's commitment to excellence. I couldn't be happier or more proud to present this wonderful organization to all of you here at Council Chambers. So therefore, colleagues, on behalf of the City of Los Angeles, I hereby recognize Hominid Men Los Angeles on the occasion of their 50th anniversary in Hollywood, and to accept this token of gratitude from us and this honor, we have Anthony Hindoyan, the Vice Chair of the Los Angeles Chapter Executive Board. Anthony.
Let's give Anthony a round of applause.
Thank you. We'll take a picture and then we'll say a few words. Get ready. Okay, I'll set this to the side. Yeah, you bet.
Thank you, Councilmember O'Farrell, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Again, my name is Anthony Hindoyan, and I am the Vice Chairperson of the Hominid Men Los Angeles Chapter. And our organization has been serving the community and particularly the Armenian American youth in the Hollywood area in the 13th District for the past 50 years. As the council member said, we've had thousands of members spread over the course of those 50 years, and our mission has been to develop and educate and nurture our youth within a patriotic and civic-minded environment, and we do that through many cultural, educational, athletic, and scouting activities. And we've been doing this for 50 years, and we are honored that the council member has invited us to recognize that effort, and we will strive and continue to serve our youth in the community for another 50 years. So again, thank you for inviting us and the honor.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anthony. And as the representative of the 13th District, which encompasses all of Little Armenia, which is the very first Armenian enclave officially recognized anywhere in the United States, I am so proud and honored to represent arguably, maybe inarguably, the most diverse of all the council districts with so many different populations from across the world who have come to Los Angeles to achieve the American dream. And no group represents that better than Hominid Men in Hollywood and in Los Angeles. So again, thank you so much, and congratulations on 50 years of mentoring these young lives, benefiting the entire city of Los Angeles. That is community building, and we congratulate you. Thank you.
If we get Councilman Wesson to do the next presentation, please.
Okay, I left my little cheat sheet up at the desk, but members, this is Pet Adoption Friday, Dog Day Friday, and what I have for you today is a 5-year-old young lady named Brownie. Some people believe that she is a Chihuahua mix, but we believe she is
Manchester Terrier mix or
we believe she is a Manchester Terrier mix. She is a lovely young lady, enjoys being held, short hair, looking for a home. And here at the City of Los Angeles, we boast about the fact that we have a 100% adoption rate. Every dog that we've ever brought before this council has been adopted. So if you're looking for unconditional love, if you're looking for somebody who, you know, even if you forget to feed her, is not going to be mad at you, somebody that's going to always be in your corner, then I'm asking anybody that can hear my voice, anyone that can see us on television, anybody that is in the council chambers today, to let's save her life and give her a home. We have, now what do we have? A special
Basic black. It's
best. Okay, now see, that's fitting for me, basic black. Okay, I'm very comfortable with that. So basic black means that adoption fees are going to be reduced
on black animals.
on black animals. What about brown animals?
Well,
So anyway, black animals fees will be reduced from September 22nd through the 23rd, correct?
yes. And so basically, the darker animals do get overlooked because they're harder to see in their kennels. So so this nonprofit does try to do awareness and help them get adopted.
Okay, well that's, even though, I mean, you just opened up another whole item for discussion here, but so anyway, you get a reduction of fees if you adopt one of our darker animals, but today we are trying to find Brownie a home. So I'm asking you, if you take a picture of her, send her to your significant other or to your parents, and see if you can bring her home. Like I said, you can see that she's just a gorgeous dog, very friendly, and I'm telling you, just calm as she can be. So again, remember that we have a 100% adoption rate on our Pet Adoption Fridays for dogs, and there's usually a telephone number on the screen. It is not there. There it is. So if you're interested in Brownie, call 888-452-7381. Now, I'm going to ask you to stay around for a little bit. So if anybody wants to take a look at Brownie, she'll be here in the back waiting for her new mom or her new dad. So anyway, with that said, Mr. Harris Dawson, I want to thank you for letting me bring Brownie up now. Well, the more people we have in the council chambers, the better chances it is to find her a home. So anyway, if you're looking for unconditional love, you want to save a life, we do the very best we can to try to get all of our pets adopted, but it is a very challenging endeavor. So please, let's give her a home. Look at that face. Look at that face.
It's a reduced adoption fee, so she's $51.
Oh, and she is a reduced adoption fee. She's reduced because she's with me, right? Is that why? I know. She's a reduced adoption fee, and I'm telling you, this is a bargain. It's $51.
Yeah,
Okay.
and $20 for your license if you live in LA.
Okay, so it's $51 and then $21 for your license. So let's find Brownie somebody to go home with today. Mr. President, members, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Wesson, and for everybody in the audience and everyone on television. Mr. Wesson has a 100% adoption rate, so please let's continue that tradition. And Mr. Harris Dawson, I believe you have a presentation, and I'll be joining you as well.
Yeah, just go on. You make sure you're on TV. Thank you, Mr. Rue. Thank you for joining me for this presentation. Thank you, Mr. President, for scheduling our annual presentation on Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, which is the month of September. Too often, our fathers, sons, brothers, nephews, cousins, neighbors don't take the appropriate measures to make sure that their health is prioritized and that they're getting checked for key diseases. This year, the expectation is that 27,000 men will die from prostate cancer. It is the second leading cause of death for men in the United States. The risk is much higher, like many things, like we just heard about the pets, apparently. The risk is higher when you have darker skin. So for African American men, the survival rate is much, much lower, and the detection time is much, much later. The professionals recommend that you start, gentlemen on the council and in the audience, that you start getting checked at the age of 40. So I'm proud to stand before you to say that I got checked very, very recently. And we continue to do so. But we wear the light blue today, and we wear the ribbons to remind all of those in our lives to, one, get a regular checkup, but make sure that the prostate cancer checkup is a part of your checkup. And with that, I'll call forward my colleague, Mr. David Rue.
Thank you, Councilman Harris Dawson, Freddie Muse, Alonzo Williams, and Tony Mack for all of your work to call attention to prostate cancer and honor the victims and survivors of this terrible disease. September is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, and given that prostate cancer is the second leading cause of cancer death in American men after lung cancer, it is important for us to remember the cause and warning signs of prostate cancer and what we can do to address this disease. Every 20 minutes, a man in the United States dies from prostate cancer. And one of the leading reasons is that men do not get tested because men are not aware of the risks. And with every form of cancer, early detection is key. However, early stages of prostate cancer shows no symptoms, and there are no self-tests. Making regular checkups with your doctor are crucial to the detection. Most troubling of all, despite cancer deaths declining in the United States, prostate cancer deaths are rising. In particular, there is a rise in late-stage diagnosis after the cancer has spread to other organs. Treatment can be painful and difficult once prostate cancer has advanced beyond the early stages, which is why it is so crucial to be tested early and often, and why it is so crucial to spread awareness about this disease. Which is why I really want to thank my colleague, Councilman Harris Dawson, and these leaders behind me for leading this, getting the word out on this disease. And I, too, along with Councilman Harris Dawson, has also been checked up. Thank you.
There you go. Thank you so much, Mr. Rue. We want to bring forward
Let me just jump in and say, and Mr. Price and I, we've been checked many times, all right? So you guys bragging about your first, we've been checked many times.
Good. Fantastic. Take one for the team.
Thank you so much for that testimony, Mr. President and Mr. Price, and providing an example for all of us. First, I want to bring to the mic someone who's been a part of the Men's Cancer Network that you see behind me in the great blue T-shirts. Someone who lived among us. Many of you know him. He was here when we had the big presentation with General Jeff and everybody from Uncle Jam's Army. Folks who remember that about a year ago. Well, Alonzo Williams, one of the people who helped found the musical group NWA. If you listen to their early mixtapes and albums, you can hear them in the background arguing with Lonzo. Alonzo Williams is a survivor and an activist around the issue of prostate cancer, and so we asked him to come forward and share with us today.
Welcome, man. Welcome. Welcome.
Good morning. As a godfather of West Coast hip-hop, I have a platform that I use to bring awareness to prostate cancer. And I find myself talking to a lot of gangbangers, a lot of guys who have hood connections, and they all have gang signs that they throw up from time to time to intimidate their various enemies. But one thing I noticed, these two fingers scare men to no end. I've seen gang members cringe just the thought of these two fingers. So as I talk to them, encourage them to get detected early, get checked early, it's only two fingers. It will save your life. It's nothing but a medical procedure, and you'll be surprised at the level of ignorance that I experience in the community. So that's why we're here today, and I thank you for the recognition. I appreciate it very much. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're also joined by another community activist. He is known to very, very many of us, and all of the city of Los Angeles joined you and your family in mourning the loss of your father, who was a giant to all of us. And you've stepped forward in his footsteps and been an activist around the issue of prostate care. Mr. Mack, come on up.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, Tom.
Good morning, Mr. President, Councilmen, Councilwomen, thank you so much for allowing us to be here this morning. As you all are probably aware, we just recently lost my father, Mr. John W. Mack. Amazing legend, amazing father, can't say enough. My hero, my lifesaver, and I mean that literally. If it wasn't for my father, I literally might not be standing in front of you today. It was my father back in 1997 who was diagnosed with prostate cancer. That was the only time that I've ever seen the fear of God in my father's eyes. And you know, he's been through many battles there, Mr. President. You've been right there with him many times. It was 2003 that I too was diagnosed with prostate cancer, but if it wasn't my father, you see, I wouldn't have gotten checked so early as I did. I started getting checked when I was 35 because the physicians told me if you find out that it's in your family, you want to start as early as 35 to get checked out. So I got checked out, started getting checked at age 35. By the age of 41, I learned I had prostate cancer, and I'm here as a survivor today, thanks to my father. And let me just say God bless to everyone. And if you haven't gotten checked, do get checked, and don't be afraid of those two fingers.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mack. And then the leader of the movement who brought this to our attention and continues to press, holds meetings out in the community at block clubs, at churches, in community centers, and pool halls, and all the rest, Mr. Freddie Muse.
Thank you.
Fred, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So, I stand before you today honored and pleased to be here today to receive this proclamation as we celebrate our 10th year of dedicated service to our communities. We are celebrating 10 years. Oh, my God. This is a wonderful thing. So I'd like all the council members to know that you've received two flyers that should be sitting in front of you. One talks about the cancers that we report on, and we are able to do this at any one of your districts at any time of the year. Just please connect with me, and we will be happy to come out and do that. The second one talks about our upcoming event on September the 15th, where we are actually providing prostate cancer screenings to the community, free of charge. So this is a wonderful thing. We'd like to have all of the men come out. If you're 40 years and older, please come out and get this free testing. All that's required is your ID card. That's all that's required for this free screening. And let's see if we can save some lives on September the 15th. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, members, and thank you so much to the actors.
Mr. Harris-Dawson,
Yes.
I do have a couple of speakers on the
Okay.
queue. I'd like to go to Mr. Price.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to thank Councilman Marquise Harris-Dawson for bringing this to us again, and of course, Brother Muse for his ongoing advocacy wherever anyone will listen. And it is a message, as you said, as the speakers have said, a message that we need to share because we can make a difference. And so thank you for encouraging us to be educated, encouraging us to be checked, encouraging us not to be afraid of two fingers, and to do it on a regular basis, well, annually at least, so that we're safe. So again, thank you for your efforts, thank you for your spirit of bringing our community together and keeping us healthy in that process. Thank you.
Amen.
Mr. Weezar.
Thank you, Mr. President. First to my colleagues, thank you so much, Councilman Rue and Harris-Dawson, for bringing this forward. And to all of you for the Men's Cancer Network, thank you so much for the work you do. It means a lot, and you have saved lives. And just you being here today, as I was listening and I was sitting here and just paying attention to what you were saying, you know, I turned 50 this coming Monday, and I haven't been checked once. And you have convinced me today to go get checked. So at least you made a difference today with one person. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, members. And thank you, members, for wearing blue today to be in solidarity with the Men's Cancer Network and the movement to end prostate cancer. And we have a few proclamations that we're going to give out in the back, and we're going to take some pictures. But we ask again, one more round of applause for the Men's Cancer.
Yeah, thank Fred and the gang. Thank you guys for everything. Thank you so much for all your hard work. Thank you, and it's good to see you. Mr. O'Farrell, it's my understanding. Yes. And if you're ready when they go to the back, then you can take the front.
Mr. President, colleagues, Mike Bunn and I are going to give recognition to an incredible group, an incredible organization called the Trevor Project. I am so glad to stand here with the team surrounding us. Founded in 1998 by the creators of the Academy Award-winning short film Trevor. The Trevor Project is the leading national organization providing crises intervention and suicide prevention services to lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning young people under 25. And colleagues, if anyone who's watching this or sees this doesn't understand what's at stake when young people who live within the category that I just mentioned, or one of the categories, understand what's at stake, the suicide rate for LGBTQ youth is off the charts, way above any other demographic known. And juxtapose that with the incredible contributions throughout history and even in recent times of people within that category, such as Plato, Walt Whitman, Oscar Wilde, the great Congresswoman Barbara Jordan, Alexander the Great, Christina, Queen of Sweden, and in more contemporary times, Ellen DeGeneres, Anderson Cooper, Janelle Monáe. We're talking about people who give an outsized contribution to the world of culture and politics, philosophy, and literature, and that is the population that Mike Bonin and I belong to. So we are very, very deeply committed to honoring groups like the Trevor Project. As I mentioned, suicide is of epic proportions in the LGBTQ youth population. It's the second leading cause of death among young people in general, but within lesbian, gay, and bisexual youth, more than 4 times more likely to attempt suicide than their straight peers. LGBT youth from highly rejecting families are 8 times more likely to attempt suicide than youth from other accepting families. Now, I don't know about any of you, but when I was in junior high school, there were suicides, and they were always boys around my age, and it was always very baffling to me on why that was. But as I look through the lens of my past, I realize that that could very well have been a factor back in the day. Nearly half of all trans people have made a suicide attempt. Nearly half of all trans people. The Trevor Project estimates that each year more than 1.5 million LGBTQ youth experience suicidal tendencies and could benefit from our services. For the last 20 years, the Trevor Project has worked to save young lives by providing support through our free and confidential crises programs on platforms where young people spend their time online and on the phone, Trevor Lifeline, Trevor Chat, and Trevor Text. Also, Trevor Space, the world's largest safe space social networking site for LGBTQ youth, and operate innovative education, research, and advocacy programs. After we view this short video, Mr. Bonin will have a few words to say as well. Please cue the video.
Thank you, Mitch, and thanks to the Trevor Project for all the great work. Colleagues, Tyler Clementi was 18. Billy Lucas was 15. Asher Brown and Seth Walsh were 13. And just a week or two ago, Jamel Miles in Denver was 9 years old when he took his own life after being bullied for being gay. Those are just a few of the names, a few of the horror stories of young people so afraid and so scared that they took their own lives. Imagine the horror of the parents of that 9-year-old boy and what they will be living with for the rest of their lives. And imagine the suffering of other kids like Jamel around the country. I remember growing up gay in a very different era, conservative small town in the late 1970s and early 1980s, and struggling with the fear and the self-doubt and the hopelessness and the isolation. I remember thinking, should I jump out the window? Obviously, made a different choice, but today, I think it's easy for people of my generation to say, oh, things are so much better now. Marriage is the law of the land. There's a transgender candidate for governor in the state of Vermont. But what that does not appreciate or sufficiently understand is that if you're a 9-year-old kid and you're trying to figure out who you are, and you hear your parent or your uncle or your grandparent or your best friend refer to someone as a fag, that's a lash that stings, that haunts you, that tears you up inside, that tells you there is no safe place for me and there is nowhere I belong, nowhere at all. And if you're bullied at school for being gay, it's very hard to run home and tell your parents because they may not know, or even if they do know, how could they possibly understand? Because it's not something they have experienced. If there's an enduring lesson of my life is that it's very, very easy to fall down and that it's not that easy to get back up. And it's incumbent upon all of us to help those who have fallen to get back up. And there are gay and lesbian and bisexual and transgender teens around this country who are falling. And the Trevor Project is an organization that works extremely hard and extremely successfully to help them from falling and to help pick them back up. And they are a phenomenal organization, and I think it's a privilege for us to be able to recognize them here today.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Anyone who is in this in these categories can relate to what Mike just said, and unless you have a voice or another person telling you that not only do you need to survive, but society needs you to survive and persevere and reach your potential no matter what. Unless you have that value from a young age, when you start questioning what society tries to define you as, you are going to be lost in the wilderness. And thank God there are groups like the Trevor Project to provide that very, very necessary source of companionship to these individuals at a very, very young age. What I'd like to do is invite Amit Paley. He's the CEO and Executive Director of the Trevor Project here in Los Angeles to say a few words. Amit.
Thank you. You bet.
My name is Amit Paley. I'm the CEO and Executive Director of the Trevor Project. As you heard, we are the world's largest suicide prevention and crisis intervention organization for LGBTQ young people. And we got our start here 20 years ago here in Los Angeles. This is our home and this is our heart, and we are so honored to be receiving this proclamation. Thank you to the entire council. Thank you to Councilmember O'Farrell. Thank you to Councilmember Bonin for recognizing us and having us here today. We have made enormous strides over the past 20 years in the movement for full equality and inclusion for LGBTQ people. But as you heard, there is still so much work to be done. Suicide is a public health crisis in this country. It is particularly acute for young people. It is the second leading cause of death for all young people in this country. And then for LGBTQ young people, it is far worse. But we also know that suicide is preventable. And that is what we do at the Trevor Project every day, to be there for LGBTQ youth across this country, many of whom have nowhere else to go. They can reach out to us via phone, via chat, via text, via the world's largest safe space social networking site called Trevor Space. We also run innovative education, research, and advocacy programs. And we could not do that over the past 2 decades without the help and support of so many people, some of whom are standing behind me right now. Our board members over the many years, Tim Aldretti and Sam Borelli, who are behind me. You can see some of our incredible staff and our amazing volunteers who day in and day out are here to be there for young people. Some of our corporate partners, Coca-Cola and EY, Wells Fargo and AT&T, who make this work possible and enable us to do this. And we are so appreciative that you are recognizing us, not just for the work that we do, but to send a clear message to LGBTQ young people here in Los Angeles, across the country, and around the world, that no matter what your sexual orientation or gender identity, that you are beautiful just the way you are, that you are deserving of respect, and that you are never alone. So please help us spread that message of support and love and tolerance at a time when we know there are many opposing forces and messages here in society. This year, we are serving more LGBTQ youth in crisis than we have at any point in our 20-year history. The day after the presidential election in 2016, our call volume more than doubled in a 24-hour period, because words do matter and policies matter. And that's why it's so meaningful to us to have the support of all of you, the recognition of all of you, and spreading those messages that are so important and can be life-saving for LGBTQ young people. So thank you again for this honor. Thank you for supporting us, and thank you for being there for LGBTQ youth.
Thanks. That's great. Thank you. Thank you. So with that, colleagues, just imagine over the last 20 years, something that is not quantifiable. The people gathered around Amit, Mike, and myself have been responsible for saving countless lives with the Trevor Project. So we need this to grow, we need it to expand, because every life is precious, no matter who the person is or how they identify. So again, congratulations, Trevor Project, on 20 years, and we wish you infinite success in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Another round of applause. Thank you for your service for 2 decades. Sharon, why don't we reconsider item 3? We have 12. So you want to read item 3?
Yes, sir. Item 3 is a Planning and Land Use Management Committee report and ordinance for a zone change for property in Council District 10.
All right. So let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Now this actually vote on the item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, let's take up item 25 at this time. And I have some cards on item 25.
Mr. President, for the record, there is an amendment on item 25. It has been posted, circulated, and is now before council, sir.
Okay, so if I could get Mr. Herman, Mr. Spindler, and then Dr. Williams, I'll have you close it out. Okay, let's start his time. Come on, Mr. Herman.
Are we out of gas? much justice do we need for environmental impact report? Annual oil wells, fracking, and more fracking. I know for a fact, there's a man in here who could talk about fracking. He has a history of knowing what fracking's all about. Drudging oil and gases and resources out of the earth to destroy us all. And I, the trooper, am telling you people, stop the fracking, stop taking natural resources out of our environment and destroying the earth. I'm here in the name of justice. I'm here in the name of Wayne Spindler to criticize a request by the city attorney, the white pasty gentleman attorney there under Public Works, to authorize no action until there is more opposition to criticize.
Mr. Spindler.
That's right. Yeah, thank you for starting my time illegally early, Mr. City Attorney.
Stay on the subject.
Continuing your disbarment. Now, let's get to this shit. I like oil, I like gas, fool, because when I fill up, motherfucker, I like to get the best prices on gas. So I want cheap oil, I want affordable gasoline, especially in the 8th and 9th district. And one of them nice people down there on Crenshaw and MLK, yo, he got the best prices on gas, and he definitely supports the community like I do. So that's why, fill up your gas tanks, everybody, tonight. Even if you don't need it. Fill it up, make the oil companies great again, and definitely support more drilling for natural gas, more filling for gas, and especially diesel. I like to choke on it because I like to not mope on it. Thank you, folks.
Thank you. Dr. Williams, please come forward.
Good morning. Dr. Tom Williams, Senior Advisor for Citizens Coalition for a Safe Community. Strongly supporting oil and gas regulations by the administrator, the new administrator. He's doing a good job. He has a hard subject, but he also has to have money because we have a lot of badly abandoned, buried, orphan wells. Who's responsible? We're over in the Board of Public Works, and they're going to get the subsurface property ownership maps for the city of Los Angeles, and they will try to use them to relate that to the costs of rehabilitating bad wells or some wells that don't even exist right now on paper. So verification is required. He needs the jobs.
Thank you, Doctor. Okay, let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, I'd like to call up Mr. Previn. Mr. Previn, we're going to jump into our multiple public comment, and you have items 1, 17, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and then when we get in the special, we'll address the other one. So that's what you have right now.
And before we start Mr. Previn's time, Mr. President, we have posted and circulated a special one, and I think it makes sense to introduce that now so that the multiple agenda speakers can address that in their bundled comments if they wish to.
Well, thank you then.
I'll explain what the motion is as I understand it from the maker of the motion. Since the posting of the agenda, the city has learned that the owner of the property at 2742 Owens Mouth Avenue, Canoga Park, the West Valley Playhouse, has received a last and final offer of purchase. The property is something which is near the Madrid Theater and would help support the development of the Canoga Park Cultural Arts Hub. The motion is to instruct the city council for the city council, to instruct the Department of General Services with the assistance of the Department of Cultural Affairs and the city attorney to negotiate a purchase and sale agreement for the property. and that the Department of General Services be instructed to conduct a Class A appraisal of the property. So I suggest that we vote on the sufficiency of the findings under Government Code Section 54954.2. If it passes and it's added onto the agenda, then the speakers can comment on it, and we can then vote on the substance of the item later.
So you want to vote on that part at this point?
Yes, I'd like to vote on the findings at this point.
Okay, so we're voting on the findings. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. Okay, Mr. Previn, welcome.
It's Eric Previn from CD2. Appreciate that. The findings are just being handed out. So how is it possible that they already voted on the findings when they haven't even been circulated yet?
Correction, the findings, the motion was circulated and posted, and I just read out what I believe are findings sufficient for satisfaction of the government code, which was just approved by the council.
Filibuster from the city attorney. You got to put my time back, sir. I mean, you're launching items.
Mr. Previn, just go on.
You do a special one just before I start to speak. I have to apply. Okay.
Mr. Previn, just go on. I'll
You're in
take
deep-
care.
you're in
I'll
deep
take
trouble.
Mr. Previn. Go on. I'll figure out a way to take care of it.
You better give me some time.
No,
That's totally
Mr. Previn,
outrageous.
just go on.
No, it's fine, sir. You're just violating the law over and over again.
Mr. Previn, then that's your time. Then go on.
No, you don't know how to do it? You forgot? Okay.
No,
So
go
that's
on.
fair. Good enough. Special number 1 from Bloomingfield's district to do a bid isolated in the no one knows what we're talking about is being shoved through during my multiple time inappropriate. So thank you for your time, sir. Item number 21 is Mike Fuhr, who I guess hired Stefan Fauble, is being sued by this group in Texas. It's over a 3D printing operation. Now, ordinarily, when the city attorney is sued, it's just the city that's sued. But here also they've sued Mike Fuhr, I guess. And what's happening, which I find highly suspicious, is a law firm called Akins Gump, which everybody knows because they are working with the home sharing community aggressively, are going to jump in pro bono for Mr. Fuhr, who's writing the ordinance for the home sharing. So, sir, this smells to high heaven, if I may, in the nicest possible way. And whereas we appreciate Mr. Fuhr firing off letters about various political views, and some of them we agree with, we do not appreciate them playing this big, you all playing this big political game at our expense, because we also know how to write letters, and we don't need this kind of thing, which is backfired in this case quite badly, if you ask me. Item number 1 is the LAFD. Now here you have the Los Angeles Fire Department, who we all revere, especially during this blisteringly hot period where we've had all these fires. But what we do not appreciate, quite frankly, is raising the rates on voluntary inspections, which is what this is. And we don't really appreciate the way they do inspections because they drew no conclusion about the Skirball fire, which I think you'll all remember in December of 2017, burst into flames in the Sepulveda Pass. The homeless population was immediately scapegoated by Nikki Minor and Paul Koretz, who's out with a head cold, and Mayor Garcetti and all of you jumped up and down alleging that it was a homeless encampment. It was absolutely not. We researched it quite carefully. There was an article in The Intercept. And then finally, the temple that lives right there, who has been trying to help, is suing the city of Los Angeles for $25,000, is disgusting. And all the organizations around also suing the city of Los Angeles, who are their treasured partners under Nikki Minor, is disgusting. It is disgusting. So I apologize for losing my cool there. Item number 20, you've got Mr. Cedillo working collectively with goodwill, as we do. These jurisdictions try.
Let's do this. Go put his 1 minute on. Mr. Previn, I'm going to give you 25 seconds of that to wrap it up, and then I'll restart your minute. So go ahead.
Okay, the 25 seconds, I just want to talk about 14 to 18 include all these REAP items where housing HCIDLA, is trying to help people enforce the rules. And Cedillo at item 20 is working with goodwill. These are instances where the council district has great sway on how things go. I'm concerned about the lawsuit that you heard Wednesday in closed session from ACCE about the letters of acknowledgement, because council district members are blocking the administration of the laws.
Thank you, Mr. Previn. That's your 25. Give him his minute for general. Wait, just give him his minute. Go ahead.
So just to make that thought clear, the letters of acknowledgement that you all instituted into the HHH approval process and then promptly refused to sign, thereby blocking organizations from doing their job, public counsel suing you, this is going to be a big lawsuit. And when I hear David Michelson talking about, I guess we should demur, it really enrages me because it means that the city wants to engage in a lawsuit about stuff that we should be solving. That, sir, remember when you stood over here and virtually burst into tears about we need to be humanitarian about it? So I don't like fighting lawsuits that defend the city's right to block people from doing stuff. That's trying to be helpful. And the other thing that you happened this morning, I guess, was the case about people's belongings. And here again, the city just keeps getting it wrong over and over and over again. Mr. Bonin can jump up and burst into tears like he does from time to time. It's outrageous, sir. It is really outrageous. And finally, I would just ask you to make a reform idea, Mr. Rue is the reform maven, on the idea of campaign finance. We have to push the money into the lower echelons of society.
Thank you, Mr. Previtt. Okay, let me go to bring up on my screen. Mr. Gus, special one, and general public comment.
Good morning, council members. Daniel Gus, I have a column on City Watch. Regarding special one, I have a everybody wins solution. Why don't you buy that property, get it assessed? I'm sure Mr. Blumenfield and Mr. Englander would support this, and put your homeless camp right there next to the theater, because homeless people deserve the arts. Why don't you seize this property, which is a blight on the community? Why don't you put the requisite forced homeless camp there? So as part of your effort to rehabilitate the homeless, you'll have them right next to a theater. Or is that not going to fly in the West Valley? I mean, that's kind of sort of what it's about, right? You have tens of thousands, many tens of thousands of homeless, and Mayor Garcetti is suddenly cheering that 45 of these tens of thousands have a home. Well, Mr. Blumenfield, why don't you put a homeless camp right next to this theater? See how that works out for your constituents.
Let's give him his 1 minute for general public comment.
Mr. Wesson's media person, Vanessa, comes up to me the other day in a very short dress and says she wants to make amends for passing along my questions to David Zahniser at the Times for his misuse of LAPD resources at his son's wedding. But Ms. Rodriguez could not articulate what she wanted to make amends for. So if she can't explain why she wants to apologize, Mr. Wesson, you're not going to get information. Don't send her up to me in a low-cut dress trying to find out what embarrassing story I'm going to write next about your family. She needs to acknowledge what she did, and then maybe we can normalize lines of communication. Regarding money that you're considering handing over to Elon Musk, you should know that Tesla stock is down 7% today. Executives are leaving because he was on a podcast smoking pot the other day. Be careful giving Elon Musk taxpayer money.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Miss McAllister, are you still? I'm sorry. Yeah, I couldn't see you behind the hat. I thought you had left. But anyway, Miss McAllister, I have you with item 1, 21, 23, and then your general public comment.
Okay, Mr. President, let's start with item 1. Item 1 here, you want to establish a fee for requested inspections. Now, I do read the agendas quite often, and I know these fees are out of hand. Every time people get raises, the city has more fees. Now, where does this fee money go? This money is going to the city attorney. All of these projects you claim you have it in your community, we get no receipts. We don't know where the money is going. That's why we have all these fees. Now, if we have a city attorney's office who have $128 million in salaries for some attorneys that are not even lawyers, and then they claim they have 300 staff members, so a total of 800 people on their staff. We need the mayor in here. Where is the mayor? As your mayor, you would never get that across my desk. I would cut that more than in half. See, it's the mayor we should be on, not you guys, because he has to approve this nonsense. 825 people on the city attorney staff, and then you want to hire some more outside attorneys. It's the biggest scam I've seen since, I don't know, since the lottery. Now, let's go on to item number 21, hire an outside law firm. There it is right there. Now, you say you want pro bono, but I know what pro bono means. They'll have all kinds of expenses they can get, plus you hire these new lawyers and give them some experience. That's what that pro bono is about. Give them some experience in the courts and with the judges and whatnot. We don't need that. You claim you got 500 lawyers already on staff, okay? And the ones who are not lawyers, they have no business collecting $200,000 a year. And another thing, I saw the lawyer's budget, city attorney. They're getting raises every 6 months, up to $2,000 raises. I've seen it. It's in the budget. They're getting raises every 6 months, not once a year. We've got to get the FBI in this city hall. We need to get in these books, because what you're doing, it's affecting me. That's my money. You're not going to steal from me. Just like the LAUSD was stealing my salaries, my money, and I got honorary ends. Now, another thing. Number 23, funding for various special events, Council District 1, Cedillo. We need to cut this out. You're asking for $63,000 for what event? Give me some receipts and post those receipts online. So if you want $63,000 for some events, let us know what event and what you spent. This putting money right in your pocket is not going to work anymore. People are suffering. They need their money, and you guys are robbing this city dry. I mean, I'm a math teacher. I dream about numbers. So, you know, calculus and all of that. Now, let's go to my public comment.
Give her one.
Mr. President, we need some regulations on these Asian nail shops. They are abusing black women. We had an incident in New York where they threw acetone in a black woman's face. They claim they're stealing. The black women say, look in my purse. They don't find anything, and they still beat them down, throw them down on the ground, beat on them. The men just broke a woman's tooth, one of these Asian men. We need some regulation. Most of them don't speak English. They have no business in this country. They're illegal aliens. We need ICE to go into these agencies. Many of them have no licenses, and we need this city. Mr. President, I'm talking while you're talking. We need this.
I can do 2 or 3 things at the same time.
We need regulations on these nail shops, and I'm asking black women to boycott these Asian-owned nail stations. Don't go there. Find an African-American nail shop or start opening them in your community. The one in New York, they've been boycotting them, and they're going out of business. If we don't go to their shops, they make no money. Thank you.
Mr. Kwan, Rob, 1/2021 in general public comment.
Thank you. I wanted to speak on item 21. It regards a motion to accept pro bono representation from the law firm Aiken Gump. This prestigious law firm might just want to do the right thing, but I worry that they have a clear interest in ingratiating themselves to this council, our school board, and all of our elected officials. It's clear that they have some interest in LA, as they have contributed close to $43,000 to local candidates. In fairness, I will note that neither of the movers of this item have received any contributions from this firm or its employees, but I cannot say the same for the city attorney. Now, one of Aiken Gump's local attorneys and mega donors, Frank Reddick, just happens to also be the chair of the board of directors for the largest charter school network, KIPP LA. KIPP LA recently got into a big dispute with LAUSD over a complaint of aggressive oversight. Beyond being a top law firm nationwide, Aiken Gump provides a number of services and has some of the highest rated lobbyists in this country. Now, this sounds great, free legal counsel, but how much will it cost when Aiken Gump is filing a lawsuit against the city within the next year? You see, Aiken Gump is legal counsel for HomeAway, a vacation rental company that with Aiken Gump for the last 2 years have been jointly employing Kira Consulting, to lobby the city regarding our short-term rental ordinance. Maybe Kira Consulting will be able to deliver them an ordinance they like. While their lead lobbyist, Joshua Pertula, can no longer contribute to city candidates, he's found a way to ensure that his wife and family members pick up the slack. The family has cumulatively contributed over $34,000 to LA City Council candidates. But I don't think it will matter. After Portland passed its own ordinance years ago, HomeAway refused to comply and forced the city of Portland to take them to court. After San Francisco passed its own ordinance, what did HomeAway and Akin Gump do? Sue the city of San Francisco. We shouldn't be surprised if Akin Gump is filing lawsuit on HomeAway's behalf after we pass our short-term rental ordinance. A note, 2020 is coming up, and Rex Hinkey, who's a member of Akin Gump, is also lead counsel.
Thank you, Rob. Let me give you your 1 minute now.
Rex Hinkey is the lead lawyer who filed lawsuit against San Francisco and against Portland. I don't mean to suggest there's anything nefarious here, but to simply illustrate just how special interests are able to stretch our campaign finance and lobbying restrictions to deliver serious clout in these halls. This is normal. This is the nature of our swamp, and it's up to you to change it. I support the city attorney's position on the danger of 3D printed firearms, but we should all have our spidey senses up with this seemingly benevolent offer from Akin Gump. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Herman, if you please come to the center aisle. So you've got item 1, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 in general.
Whether or not we find the communication of the licensed bar of the so-called city attorney's office engaging in impractical, immoral execution to contract LLCs, why do we go that far? Ladies and gentlemen of this quorum, should we continue to pay for outside counsel on a pro bono? We have a good speaker, Mr. Bassetti, who's going to point out the numbers and crunch numbers for you why Mr. Bassetti is correct with the so-called outside counsel. Litigation that goes on with false corruption and abuse against all you, the taxpayers. As you see in this mask, I'm not too scary. So, with budget and finance and Paul Krikorian as a conflict of interest working under a fake bar license, he does no longer have a bar license, should not engage in the inappropriate abuse of taxpayers' money under consideration for outside counsel under pro bono. Because I won't use any defamatory words to suggest that we're being gutted by the city attorney of corrupted politicians, but I'm only addressing the truth behind the so-called bad cops, bad policing. And then on item 23, that of the Jew, Mr. Bloomfield, I'd like to thank him for the nonprofit developers who've engaged in criminal activity. As you read in the LA Times today, someone got busted. Thank you, Mr. Bloomfield. Thank you so fucking much.
Let's give him his 1 minute for general.
What are the untruths behind the slander and defamation? Your action, your crime making false-spoken allegations and statements against Wayne Spindler, a city attorney critic, and I advise the city's plan of damaging one person's reputation, blacken someone's name, tell lies about the children, cast apprehension, tarnish my name, and trash by evil politicians. Whether or not you are a wetback Jose Huizar, your actions and your plan include defamatory statements like that of Nuri, that of Paul Krikorian, and that rapist Mr. Rue from UCLA. You're not going to escape your lies, because I'm here to address the truth in honor and respect to Donald Trump. Text 880022.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Mr. Spindler. Mr. Herman, please, you're beginning to disrupt. Please sit down. Mr. Spindler.
the Rowdy Act.
Okay, Mr. Spindler, you
Bullshit.
have items 120, 120, 21, and general public comment.
Yeah, you better take this over. This is some heavy legal shit. Okay, very good. Thank you, sir. Yes, number 21. We got a big fucking problem here on number 21. See, what I did, and you don't have to thank me for this, I do it for you, Herb, is that I went ahead and I downloaded the entire lawsuit in the Western District of Texas, civil case 18CV637, and I found out that the Attorney General of New Jersey, Mr. Grewell, is also being sued personally with our great city attorney, Mike Fuhr, and you're going to use a pro bono contract to represent the Attorney General of the state of New Jersey and supposedly our city attorney for free. So, of course, it's illegal to accept a gift. So, therefore, these legal services being provided on the pro bono, the law firm will have to give Mike Fuhr a Form 1099, and he will have to declare all of that legal work as taxable income on his taxes. Let's give him a hand for that. Yes, sir, taxable income, and I'm sure those legal fees are going to be in the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we all know that Mike Fuhr can surely afford that. Yes, he's like all of you. He's just loaded with all kinds of money.
Stay on the topic.
Yeah, he's all kinds of money. And you know that a constructive dividend is illegal because it's illegal to accept a gift of public funds while you're under color of authority. And why are we representing this fucking idiot McGrewell over there in New Jersey? You don't want people to make guns. You don't want people to buy guns. You don't want people to possess ammunition. But if somebody comes through your window to rape your kids, what the fuck are you going to say? Please don't hurt me? You people are fucking full of fucking shit.
Give him his 1 minute and keep your voice down, Mr.
So,
Spindler.
we have a dispute here. It's a minor dispute. You never posted the special one motion. And now Mr. Avak is saying somebody stole it. Well, we've been having cameras over here watching that board. Nobody posted it. So would you please post special item 1, because I just filed a cure and correct with your city attorney. I would like to see this motion. Then I would like you to read the motion, and then I would like to get 1 minute to opine on it. Failure to do so will result in a cure and correct letter and litigation. Why? Because we're assholes. That's why. Can't you see we're assholes? And Mr. Krikorian continues to escalate this issue. I want to work it out with you, Herb. I want to work it out with you. So let's work it out. Let's stop screaming at each other. Let's stop it. Let's come together.
Thank you. Your time is done. Mr. Herman, do not disrupt this meeting anymore by making sounds while we have another speaker up. Let's vote on items 15, 16, 15, 17, and 18. 15, 17, and 18. Please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
22, 23, 24 we're going to vote on next. Please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Thank you. Okay, we have George. I have you at items 1 and 21, and then your general public comment. George? And special 1 as well. So he gets his 3 minutes for 3 items, and then his general public comment. Yes, sir.
Well, here we are at another organization that's run as a criminal organization. You don't follow Brown Act, Bagley-Keene. You threw me out of the meeting without a warning when you broke the law, Mr. Wesson, who can't seem to keep a track of your money.
Stay on topic.
It is the topic.
No, come on. Now, you're on item 1, special 1, and item 21. and that's what you
You
should
shouldn't be
speaking to.
taking fees from people when you don't list what they are and you're collecting enough already and you can't handle your budget as it is now, as the Board of Supervisors can't. Item 15, you're taking property from people for free. My friend Mary Jacobs has 4 lots in East LA.
Mr. President, I believe
And
we voted
you
on
are-
item 15
don't
already.
talk over.
No. You have to. I gave you the items. No, I gave you the items. No, sergeants.
The speaker is off topic.
The sergeants, would you? Okay, I'm gonna give you one more chance. No, but I told that item is already, the public comment has already been satisfied. I gave you the items that you could speak on. You refused to do that.
Then put me to public comment. I'll use the rest of my time.
Then
How
that
about
you can get. Give him
Okay.
his 1 minute.
You want to play dumb games, dude? Huh? Do you all remember when I came in here with Celeste King IV and eliminated your Office of Public Safety because for 10 years your stupid city attorney didn't take care of business, huh? Do you? And you have the nerve to allow your city attorney to illegally prosecute misdemeanors by the LADA. Now, Mr. City Attorney, tell me, what damn deal do you have running with the DA that's so crooked that you can't follow the 2009 Section 271 of the city charter or your stupid city council vote in 2010 on it? I have it verified by the probation department that 100% of those misdemeanors are prosecuted by the DA, you filthy people, including 5 years of my crap and 5 years of no exculpatory evidence. So, boy, I got all your judges, your city attorney.
Thank you. Okay, George, your time's expired. Thank you, Mr. Herman. Mr. Herman, sit down, and Mr. Spindler, do not bang on the furniture. Let's now vote on items 1. Again, let me warn you, no disruptions. I think that was you, George. So I've warned you, Mr. Spindler and Mr. Herman. So let's go back to our work. Let's go to items 1, 14, 16, and 19. Please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Now we'll do items 20 and 21. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Mr. O'Farrell, item 5, I believe.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. What I'd like to do is move that we receive and file 5A, which is the T Committee report, and move to approve 5B, which is the Budget and Finance report, while we work out a little detail related to this item.
Okay, let's.
Oh, and I need a second on that.
I'll give you that.
Thank you, sir.
Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Mr. Rue, 26, item 26.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I can make a verbal motion to adopt the recommendation of the joint CLA-CAO report, which has been circulated, and receive and file the Budget and Finance Committee report. If I can get a second on that. Thank you.
Let's prepare to vote on that item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Special meeting, sir.
I'm going to take some general public comment at this time. Do I have Peggy Lee? Peggy Lee Kennedy, please come forward. Willis Belton. Reuben, Dr. Williams. Yes, ma'am.
This is general public comment only.
Yes, it is.
My name is Peggy Lee Kennedy, and I'm with the Venice Justice Committee. I'm really concerned about how this city is dealing with homelessness. You know, I know you like to say you're doing all these things, but if you're down on the street with the people and not some whatever provider that you're working with, you'll see that it's bad what you're doing, very bad. You're criminalizing people, and you're not applying the principles of housing first. And you're spending a bunch of money on stuff that is not housing first, and that is the solution. Look at the solutions. Housing first. Everybody knows it. Please think about that instead of putting people in jail, ticketing people. And how about throwing their stuff away? It's horrid. It's not just Joe Reyes. There's all kinds of people.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy. So, Mr. Belton? Yes, sir. Mr. Belton? Or you are? Just come up and identify yourself.
My name is Ruben.
I didn't hear you.
It's Ruben.
Ruben, the
You couldn't
floor is
pronounce it
yours.
the last time I was here, so I'll correct it for you now. So you couldn't pronounce it correctly last time I was here, so I'll pronounce it for you. It's Ruben.
I couldn't pronounce Ruben?
No, you couldn't pronounce it right. You got my name all wrong.
Then I do apologize for. Give him his 1 minute.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the City Council. Councilman Price, thank you for sending your aides out, but we still got a lot of work to do in that area. And so, Ms. Martinez, thank you also for you being very polite when I came to the City Council meeting. I didn't come here for a song and dance and a pony act. I came because I have a safety concern in the area where I live at, and it's going to spread to all your districts. It's just not Mr. Price's district, all your district. We got a bad problems with, I'm pretty sure all the LAPD is aware of the media, social media with this racing and speeding and stuff and losing control of cars. And they're doing it around lunchtime when school kids are in. So we do need to work on that with the LAPD and other law enforcement agencies in your districts that you guys all serve, because the matter's going to get out of hand if you guys don't put a control of what's going on. You can only do so much, but at least you guys are being aware that this problem is getting real bad.
Thank you, sir. Miss Dr. Williams, and then is that Willis Belton. Willis, are you here? Yig Adir? Yes, Dr. Williams.
Dr. Tom Williams, Senior Advisor for the Citizens Coalition for a Safe Community, and helping the Harbor Gateway North Neighborhood Council do the community plan for their area. Major issue is oil and gas development within 50 feet of residential R1 uses. So we're trying to get a specific plan for all oil and gas in the Harbor Gateway area so that the people there can be protected from having an oil, water, gas separator 50 feet from their backyard. So it's a simple thing, but it needs to be done and needs to be indicated on all of the ZEMIS maps in the city of Los Angeles. It's a good service, but it needs to include actual oil and gas systems.
Thank you. Yes, sir. And your name?
Mr. Yigal Adir, and I'm advisor for the President of the United States, and before I advise three other presidents, Democrat and Republican. There is two issues I want to talk about. The first one, I have a very important business proposal that I give to the officer here to give to the mayor, and later on I didn't know that I need to make a copy for everybody. Later on I'm going to make copy and give to everybody here. It's a business proposal that is actually the solution for the 21st century transportation problems, and it's going to create employment to people here and profit to the city too. So I'm looking to get some grant and financial support to be able to start this project. The other thing is, I want to talk regarding.
Thank you. Your time is expired. That concludes. No. That's your time. Okay, that concludes your time, sir. And Mr. City Attorney, would it be appropriate we could move Special 1 at this time?
We can, yes.
All right, so members, we're going to vote on special one. Please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, so multi-comment is concluded in the regular meeting, and so is general public comment. Can we?
Mr. President, special one should also go forthwith.
Okay, then without objection. Okay, let's recess and go into the special.
Blumenfield, Bonin, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Harris, Dawson, Weezer, Koretz, Krikoria, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rodriguez, Rue, Wesson. 11 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
All right, let's.
Items 27 through 31 are items for which public hearings have been held. And for the record, Mr. President, the MacArthur Park Neighborhood Council submitted a community impact statement in support for item 27, sir.
Okay, let's vote on items 27 through 31. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, so that brings us to items.
32 and 33 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration, sir.
Go, Mr. Previn. Mr. Previn, we're in special.
Mr. President, for the record, item 33, the amendment has been posted, circulated, and is now before council, sir.
Okay, Mr. Previn, come on. You've got 32, 33.
Thank you, sir.
Give him his time.
Thank you. It's Eric Previn from Studio City, and you said 32 and 33, right? The two that you've got on the special meeting agenda today, which means that you noticed at about 24 hours ago in the morning. And here comes Duarte with the disability group, so it's nice to see them coming back in for this. Now, the two items that you called onto a special meeting agenda was a 24-hour notice, so the public was able to review these agenda items. But today, Blumenfield jumped in on something a little different called Special One. Now
So we've already voted special
No,
one.
I'm
that was in
explaining
the
special
regular-
meetings, sir. You're entitled to.
Mr. Previn, stick to the items. So let's just deal with 32.
I'm on the special meeting
30,
agenda, and I'm talking
32,
about
and-
special meeting agendas, sir. That's my right. If you want to interrupt me, that's
No,
not
the city
appropriate.
attorney said speak to the
Right, the
substance
city
of
attorney
those two items.
knows that special meeting
Mr.
items
Previn,
or
please.
24-hour notice. That's legal to talk about that, sir. Please sit down.
Mr.
24 hours notice is
Mr.
fair, and I'm allowed to speak about the items. There are two items, 32 and 33, were called with 24 hours of notice. By contrast, Mr. Blumenfield called one with no publication of any agenda of any kind. And Mr. Avakaudian says he put it on the board, but the public disputes that because we can't find it. We can't find it. So when the public is giving away property or making actions that they claim they never heard anything about until just this minute, the public wants to see that that's true, and it's not true.
So,
I
Mr.
would ask you to
Previn, you're still talking about the special item that was introduced at the regular meeting. Please talk about what's on the special agenda items 32 or 33.
Well, the SAFER grants are interesting. I mean, I certainly enjoy talking about SAFER grants, but what I really want to talk about is the standard that we have in City Hall for special meetings, which are called with 24-hour notice, which is appropriate, but fast. And we got a lot of items being put on that agenda with just 24-hour notice. The ones that you won't let us speak on have to do with various housing projects. There's Lot 691, which I think is another city-owned property, but that one we had 24 hours to know about.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Previn. Let's bring up Mr. Herman and then Mr. Gus.
Where's my 2 minutes? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, Mr. Englander from the north side of Northridge and that of the Silverton cop, Joe Busciano, have asked the fire department to accept emergency response money. Why? Why do we need these two knuckleheads allocating money for the fire department when we have enough resources already? There was never an emergency. Homeless people are not the problem. Stop blaming them for the fire. Fuck Englander. Then on item 33, folks, as you know, a subsequent dispute over why Hugo Rossiter, middle name S, under multifamily housing has discriminated against people regarding the revenue bonds. Revenue bonds only creates taxation, and taxation means fuck the taxpayers for more projects that are unknown by the wetback for Broadway apartments. Who's that?
Stay on the subject.
He chairs the plum where all these tariffs are talked about for resolution for multifamily. And as I mentioned during my public comment, old business, there was an issue regarding a developer who's on the front page of the LA Times for bamboozling, stealing, and corrupting our system by Department of Building and Safety. So regarding the September 6th Broadway apartments, once again, 42 USC, fuck Jose Huizar housing, fuck this multifamily housing, fuck HHH because you didn't allow us to speak, and fuck Herman Jason Wesson.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker, please come forward. Items 32 and 33.
Council members, my column on City Watch, I was the first reporter in Los Angeles to expose absolute fraud in the LAFD Fire Prevention Bureau, which Hillel Aron at the LA Weekly eventually picked up. As you know, you're being sued by your former deputy chief, John Vidovich, and it's going to cost the city a fortune. Rather than relying on these grants, why don't you just clean up the corruption at the LA Fire Department? You're going to be sued. You're going to end up paying Deputy Chief Vidovich millions of dollars eventually. You wouldn't need the grant if you just cleaned up the fraud that I was the first person in LA to write about. This grant wouldn't be necessary if you simply got rid of the corruption in the Fire Prevention Bureau. As you know, the public unions aren't going to have as much influence over the corruption there anymore. The LA Weekly knows that I'm onto something else here with regards to corruption there. Why are you relying on grants for public safety? The fraud at the fire department, which, by the way, has been underwriting Eric Garcetti's trips to Washington, D.C. for quite a long while. Why don't you just clean that up? Why is public safety relying on grants? Why don't you just clean up the corruption? Or is it because you're concerned that the National Firefighters Union's donations will hurt your reelection campaigns? It's an absolute shame. We should be funding our own public safety. If you only cleaned up the corruption, have the FBI come in and clean up the LA Fire Department. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Spindler, if he's still here.
Unfortunately, I got to stay. And thank you again for starting my clock early in violation of the law.
Stay on the subject, Mr. Spindler.
Yeah, so anyway, I am the housing advocate puppet, okay? So let's take a look at all this corruption bullshit. Let's see here. We got ourselves down in the 9th district, yo. And the ghetto is getting itself some renovation money, $8 million to renovate 35 units. That's so much money. You could just tear that shit down and build a whole new Class A LEED certified building. But no, because the people of the 9th district deserve nothing less than the worst shit you can build. So you're just going to put on a couple of little carpets and a little bit of paint, and then you're going to keep the other $6 million of the $8 million and give it to your developer friends who can then invest in junk bonds. And that's what we like. We love junk bonds, yeah, and that's fine. I'm the toothless criminal, yo, and I'm not a fool. I am a stew. So we look in the fire department, yo. Fires are business. Every time there's a fire, you get insurance company money. That creates jobs. Then you got to rebuild. That creates construction jobs. Fires. And again, I went to the library one time and I read something called creative destruction. Yes, look it up, Google creative destruction, and you'll see exactly what you're talking about. So they go down in the hood, and they set the fires, and they collect the money, and then they do that to stimulate the economy. That's what Donald Trump's going to do. He's going to start burning all these fucking places down like Chicago and down South Central, yeah. So we're getting ready for the rebuild. Get your hammers out, yo. We're going to go build, we're going to build, we're going to build Donald Trump for 2020,
okay,
y'all.
Thank you. Thank you. George, Mr. Spindler, you're disrupting the meeting.
You guys are the disruptors. Let's get real here.
Get on the subject, George.
God, at least you know my name, huh? You remember me, huh?
Are you going to get on the subject so you
That
can
is
speak?
on the subject, so I'm going to talk about the $8.5 million little project here. And by the way, I need the name of this city attorney so I can send him to the bar with Mike Fures.
You got to get on the subject.
So, first I want to know, is this $8.5 million having to do with this HHH bond money and your Joint Powers Authority and the federal and the state money? Second, what's the cost per unit that you're building these for? See, you all fools think you're so slick, right, that you're afraid to go find out what the actual cost of building is. So you and the county went together and you're bragging about building 3,362 units for $1.7 billion or $505,683 per homeless unit, okay? And AHF is bragging about building for $350 to $380 in flea bag hotels with a coat of paint in the floor. Yeah, we're going to get all of them off the street, aren't we? Now, if you'd have used my project that I got from Giant Containers at $75,000 finished, we'd had 22,000 of the 54,000 homeless off the street. And now you've joined with the county in this new foolish thing with mental health and the sheriff.
I think we've moved off of the agenda item.
George, that is his business. Your time's expired. Okay, your time's expired. Would you please cut off he's off topic. All right, so that concludes the speakers in the special meeting. Let's prepare to vote.
Mr. President, so would council like to vote on 32 first since 33 is amended?
Yes. So let's vote on 32. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Now we'll go to item 33. As amended, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Mr. President, given the upcoming council recess, would
Yes,
council...
we want to send these forthwith as well.
Thank you.
Does that conclude our business in the special meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's adjourn the special, return to the regular, and now what's before this body?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Okay, those motions are posted and they are referred.
That clears the desk, sir.
Ms. Martinez, it's my understanding you have an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd actually like to welcome our Summer Ready for Women Fellows who are concluding their summer internship. Mr. Herman, I don't need you to clap. As you all know, I started this program about 5 years ago, hosting the summer program for Ready to Women as a pipeline for female leaders to understand what we do here at City Hall, intern in our office, get to shadow us on the floor, and get to staff us in committee. And we have our graduating class this summer, so I want to thank all of them for being here. I want to introduce you to all of them. Fabulous women from across the city. We have Alexia Burquez. Alexia will be entering her final year at UC Irvine, where she is studying political science and international relations. Alexia grew up in Compton and hopes to return after she completes her school and someday be able to contribute to a better Compton in her community. She also plans to study at DC this fall and study abroad in her final year in the spring quarter. So I want to thank Alexia for being part of our team and accepting this fellowship, and congratulations.
Let's give them a round of applause.
We also have Isabel Marine. Isabel is from San Pedro. Mr. Buscaino's not here, but I'm sure he'd be happy to know that. She's currently at Loyola Marymount, where she's studying Chicano and Latino studies and Spanish. She is going to start her third year at Loyola Marymount. She's also involved in campus organizations such as MECHA, Latino Student Union, and Associated Students, leading undocumented and helping undocumented students on campus. So she has a really bright future and is very dedicated to her community as well. So thank you, Isabel. She also shares the same name as my daughter and spells it the same way as my daughter. The last fellow we have is Tanisha Saunders, and Tanisha is just recently graduated from Cal State Dominguez Hill with a degree in child development, and she is also an avid advocate of foster care youth, serving as a youth leader for the National Foster Youth Institute. She's very, very passionate about education and hopes to one day serve on the Compton Unified School Board. She is also recently graduated and looking to take a policy position in the field of foster care. So Tanisha also serves a very, very close friend of mine, which is Congresswoman Karen Bass, and she's actually knows her personally. You've helped the Congresswoman not only advise her on foster care issues, but I know she is a very special friend of yours. So I appreciate you, Tanisha. And colleagues, these are our fellows, graduating fellows this summer. And watch out, world, because the only real requirement is, of course, you have to be in college or in graduate school. But the only real requirement as part of the fellowship program is that you one day want to actually run for office. That you're not thinking about it, that you're not sort of like, well, maybe that's an area that I want to go in. They actually want to serve in public office one day, because God only knows, Monica, we need all the help we can get around here. So let's give them a big round of applause to these amazing leaders, female leaders, who know all the intricacies of City Hall and how it all works. And congratulations to all of you and all your future endeavors. And just come back and serve, come back and work with us. We need these women to lead us in the next couple of years. So thank you very much for your work. So we have our certificate for Alexia. For Isabel, thank you, Mr. O'Farrell. You are just being so helpful this morning. You're just a lovely, lovely seatmate. And Tanisha, thank you very much, ladies. Let's give them another big round of applause.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. Mr. Huizar.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Council District 14 staff is here. We are here to wish a farewell to a 6-year CD14 staffer that is moving on to the Department of Transportation. One of my planning deputies that has served as the Planning and Transportation Deputy is moving on to, with all the knowledge and expertise he got from CD14, to continue on the people, what they call the People Street Program. And I'm talking about Kevin Ukubillo, who's here somewhere. Where did you hide? Kevin, why don't you step up here?
Mr. Spindler, sit down.
You know, when I first interviewed him, it was at La Parilla, a small Mexican restaurant in Boa Heights, and we were having a nice conversation. And that morning, he happened to order the green chili chilaquiles. And I usually only have it with red sauce, right? And so I asked him, can I have one of your chilaquiles and I could taste it? And he goes, sure. He goes, gave me a little piece. And then as the interview went on, I realized by the end of the interview, I had eaten his whole plate. So I didn't think he was going to accept the offer after that, but thankfully he did, because he has pushed forward some very innovative programs in our office. As you know, we have pushed forward parklets, bike corrals. We've extended the bike network in our district, and a lot of it really had to do with the work and passion that this young man brings to our office. We actually first found him when he was working on our city's first parklet on Spring Street. He and his brothers were working on it, planning for it, designing it, and we said, why don't you come on over to our office and get some of those ideas into our office? And indeed we did. We had the city's first bike corral on York Boulevard in Highland Park. And I remember the then Department of Transportation, you know, we were going to take 2 parking spaces, turn them into like 12 parking spaces for bikes. And the first reaction we got from the Department of Transportation back then was, you're not going to take 1 inch of our street. But now it's very different, right? We have a very different Department of Transportation who's actually moving forward these types of projects through their People Street program. So it's great to see that Kevin has gone from pushing in ideas from the outside, coming to CD14, and now going to the Department of Transportation to continue to do his great work. The only qualm I have is that I now have a deficiency in my office because I have no one to write my speaking points for the Filipino Independence Day that we do here every year. And he's written some great speaking points each and every year. Mr. Weston, I'm going to have to borrow some of your staff, or Mr. Cedillo, or others, to write me those speaking points. But even if you're not going to find him at the Department of Transportation, if you ever go out at night, you might find him in his alter ego. He is a planner by day and an undercover DJ by night. If you want to follow him, he can be found at #Kevcellent, KEVCELLENT. So if you want to follow him on social media, you want to hire a DJ, or you want to go follow this international man of leisure by night, you could follow that hashtag. His soft demeanor, don't let that fool you. He has done a lot, works hard. And Kevin, good luck. Team Weezer is going to be going to miss you, but I know you're going to continue to push those innovative policies, and we really appreciate all the work you've done, not only for CD14, but for the city. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let's all, well, let's wait for the photos. So I'll recognize Mr. O'Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want invite everyone to a couple of films that I'm screening this weekend. One of them tonight is tonight. It's The Night Under the Stars, and we are screening the film Coco at Juntos Park in Espanol with English subtitles. We'll be screening the film as soon as dusk lands between 6 and 7. It's free. All are invited, hosted by my office. And then tomorrow night, we're screening, it's the final series, summer series at Echo Park. And the theme this year has been heroines and women, pioneering women. And the film is Norma Ray, the classic from 1980, starring Sally Field. Again, it's free to the public at Echo Park Lake tomorrow evening, screening at about 6:30. And we encourage everyone to pull up a blanket, a chair. We're going to be serving popcorn for free and refreshments, and just enjoy movies under the summer sky at Juntos Park tonight for Coco, and Echo Park Lake tomorrow evening for Norma Ray. Thank you.
Ms. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. And colleagues, I just wanted to thank you for helping us honor some really incredible trailblazers when we did the presentation for El Grito. And I want to remind everyone that you're invited to join us at El Grito. I know we're going to be on recess next week. So again, Saturday, September 15th, from 5 to 10:30, we are going to be activating Grand Park, which is a new addition for El Grito this year, and celebrating Mexican independence and the independence of a number of Latin American countries. But more importantly, celebrating the activism that has helped to bring us as far as we have, and honoring all the work that we still need to do in this country. But again, I really would appreciate having all of you come out and join us. It's going to be a fabulous event. We've got Los Tucanes de Tijuana that are going to be performing, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of hype around that at the park next Saturday, September 15th, and look forward to seeing you all there.
Thank you. All right, any more announcements? If we could all please rise. All please rise for adjourning motions. All please rise for adjourning motions. I'm looking on to my left side, Mr. Cedillo.
Friends and colleagues, I wanted to close this session in the memory of Vanessa Marquez. Last Friday afternoon, we all heard bits of her passing. She was killed by the South Pasadena police. They had been called for a welfare check at noon, and within 90 minutes later, she had been shot by the South Pasadena police. It is said that she grabbed a BB gun that looked like a automatic weapon, and she was shot, and she was pronounced dead shortly thereafter. Vanessa Marquez was noted as a star of the show ER, which launched the career of many. But I knew Vanessa Marquez as a friend of mine. She was born December 21st, 1968. She grew up in Montebello, California. She had a very close relationship with her mother. She lived right on Garfield. I remember that specifically because on occasions I would drive her and her mother home. Her mother accompanied her to events throughout. Vanessa always wanted to be an actress and would idealistically send in her photo and her resume to the studios, thinking that somebody would pick it up and respond and she would become an actress. She went out for a lot of movies and plays, and she had her big breakthrough in the movie Stand and Deliver, which is the story of Jaime Escalante. She played Ana Delgado, the young woman who stood up courageously when her father didn't want her to fill out an application to go to school. That was her launch. That was her opportunity. She co-starred with Andy Garcia and Edward James Olmos. From that, she went on to Seinfeld and Melrose Place. And then she's most known for her intermittent time on ER from 1994 to 1997. She had her ups and downs in her career. She was an activist. She was very involved with supporting the United Farm Workers. She was very involved supporting many of the activities of the 90s. And Mr. President, you'll remember her being around a lot of our events at SCIU Local 660, participating in many of our activities with the County of Los Angeles. Sadly, she then encountered mental health problems and challenges, OCD. There is a show on A&E called Intervention that starts with the challenges that she had with mental health. I last spoke to her when I was elected. She saw that I had won the election here in Los Angeles, and she called me to congratulate me, and we had a nice conversation. But like too often, we get so involved in our daily lives and our efforts to serve the city that we don't get back to the people we care about. Sadly, she struggled with those challenges. She was, as indicated, a welfare check had called on her. The police came. It didn't work out, and sadly, she is no longer with us. I ask that we close in the memory of Vanessa Marquez. She was also an actress, I want to add, with the Los Angeles Theater Center right down the street, and participated in many of their great plays.
May she rest in peace. Mr. Rue? So, okay, Mr. Rue, just hold tight for a minute. You've been warned, Mr. Spindler and Mr. Herman, all day. Can we have them leave the council chamber so that we can at least pay respect to these individuals that have transitioned? So if they could be removed. Mr. City Attorney, they're still disrupting. They are still.
As usual, they're taking a long time to leave. And shouting as they leave as per usual.
And sergeants, if you could make sure they don't yell back into the chambers as we're trying to adjourn in the memory So I'm going to go to Mr. Rue, and then Mr. Blumenfield, I'll come over to your side.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you so very much for that, because this is a very special adjournment. Because, Council President, colleagues, I rise today to honor one of our very own, a member of our city family, Nicole Willett, Chief of Staff to the Department on Disability, who is joining us today, who passed away this Labor Day while enjoying the marina with her friends and family. She was 46 years young. Nicole joined our city family in 2014 with the Department on Disability, and within only a few months became the department chief of staff. There, she reorganized the department to be more efficient and effective, created broader support and visibility for Angelinos living with disabilities, and coordinated with the mayor's office, the controller's office, and many of us standing around this horseshoe. While she had many accomplishments here, I'd like to just highlight a few. The Trans Equity Pilot Program and appointing a gender equity liaison to ensure that the trans individuals are represented on disability issues. But she did not only serve the city of Los Angeles. Before coming here, Nicole was chief of staff for District 5 in the city of San Jose. She was also an assistant attorney for the NYPD and an assistant district attorney for the city of New York. And if her sizable accomplishments weren't enough, Nicole also taught. She shared her skills and experiences with the leaders of tomorrow. She was a professor at Alliant International University in San Francisco and an instructor with the California School of Law in Santa Barbara. Then at Wildwood School in Los Angeles, she served as head teacher, where she launched the school's first LGBTQ outreach program and debate program, marrying her two passions, LGBTQ rights and empowering new voices and thoughtful debate. She also started a public speaking program locally here at Dominguez High School and co-founded the LGBTQ Center in New York City. This, among many, many other achievements and efforts, were all to improve the lives of others. Nicole was intelligent and dedicated. She shared with others all that she knew and fought for the forgotten, marginalized, and downtrodden. She's loved and was loved by her friends, her colleagues, and her partner, Lena. Her loss will be felt deeply by the city of Los Angeles and many others. And I just want to tell the department and Lena that all of us are here for you, we grieve for you, and we support you on this difficult time. May she rest in peace.
We're so sorry. Mr. Blumenfield.
Thank you. Today I rise, I ask we adjourn in the memory of Adrian Quintas, who passed away on August 23rd at the young age of 34. Adrian grew up in the San Fernando Valley. He was a true community leader. He was committed to service. For years, he served as the program director for New Directions for Youth, where he dedicated his life to helping youth in our community. He worked in gang prevention, headed up programs to get guns off the street. His tireless efforts made our community safer. He also had a passion for dogs, which led him to spearhead the second location of the O to Be a Dog, a family-owned business with his family that they were committed to providing customized pet care. I was one of their early customers. He and other folks in his family business would walk our dog on a regular basis. He's survived by his parents, Francis and Robert Quintas, siblings Humberto Quintas and Shannon Sardella, and countless family members and friends. He'll be missed by all who knew him and loved him, and his spirit will serve as a loving inspiration to all of us. May he rest in peace.
Thank you, Mr. Blumenfield. So let me again look to my left, look to my right. Ms. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I ask that you join me in remembering a member of my family that we lost just yesterday. My mother-in-law's aunt, who was also my husband's godmother. She died yesterday after, a very wonderful life. She lived to be 99 years old. Rita Milena Garcia left Cuba when she was 50 years old, and they settled in the same family apartment that my husband was actually raised in New York and Washington Heights. I had the benefit of meeting Mile when first took my first trip to New York, and my husband and I had just only been dating for 6 months. And she welcomed me so into the family, so much so that I really, at that moment, knew I really wanted to be part of that family. And knowing Mile was just, she just brought so much happiness to everyone. She was always so kind and thoughtful. And there was never a trip to New York that we made that didn't involve a home-cooked meal. She made croquetas like no one else because she made it listening to Celia Cruz. And she was just always there for my kids. When each of the kids were born, she would fly out for their baptisms. She was there at every major family event. And it was about 5 years ago that she had her first, one of what we thought at that time would have been the end. 5 years ago, she was diagnosed with colon cancer, and on a week's notice, we flew out because we thought it was going to be terminal and it was going to be our time to say goodbye. She had stopped eating, and we flew out there, and miraculously, she started eating again. And it was the love of her family and being surrounded by all of us that everyone said brought the miracle of her being brought back to life. And then subsequently, she took ill again, and we started to question whether that was just her incentive to try and bring us all back to New York every time she was ill. We would fly back to go visit her, and just spirits would be lifted. But she was a beautiful soul, and we were fortunate to have her in our lives for as long as we have. And I ask that we adjourn in her memory. Rest in peace, Mile. We love you, and we know you'll always be with us.
Well said, Ms. Rodriguez. Members, I want to adjourn in the memory of a young man by the name of Joseph Reyes. I never had the opportunity to meet him myself, but individuals from the district that I represent, that many of you have met before, Christine Johnson, Jane, Mel, a group of, and Mike, a group that called themselves K-Town Shelter for All. The weather got so hot, we had triple digits, so they decided to go out in the community and be my unprofessional, professional outreach workers to the homeless community. They collected water, froze the water, went out to the community, and that's where they met Joe. Joe had resided for about 13, 14 years in the Koreatown area. His building was sold. There was a dispute with the owner. He never got the deposits or the money he was supposed to get to transition. I don't want to go into that because that story is clouded. But he was a great guy, and everybody on the street liked him. One of the reasons why it was so difficult for us to place him in a bridge home facility was that he had a cat. He had a cat named Jezebel, and he loved that cat. And I think that moving forward, I'm so proud that we're being sensitive to individuals that have animals, because that's, in some cases, all that they have. The constituents from my district that befriended him, Christine was pregnant, and when she had her child, this man with literally no money at all, with meager means, put together money to buy a set of clothing for her newborn child named Rose. He died shortly thereafter with a heart attack. He was only 56 years old. But what he would have been one of the first people to go into the Bridge Home project that we're building over in the eastern portion of my district and the western portion of Mr. Cedillo's district. But I felt that it was important that we mention his name and that we as a city acknowledge his existence and recognize that his story is not an isolated story. Every year, people, for whatever reasons, find themselves on the street, and they die, and many of them die alone. So my commitment to the community was that Joseph Reyes would not be forgotten. And I'm glad that you're here to rise and acknowledge the existence of a good man. And also, one thing that he did say, that he'd never really been engaged by mental health outreach workers. And when my unprofessional professionals went out, gave him water, and talked to him, he's an example that, yes, there are some people on the street that will never get off the street, but there are a lot of people that if you touch them the right way, if you talk to them the right way, that we can help them, and that they will they will take the opportunity to have a second chance at life. So Joseph Reyes, sorry that I never got a chance to meet you, but know that the community misses you, and rest in peace. With that said, members, this meeting's adjourned.
I'm not just an environmentalist at work, but I am an environmentalist at heart. 70% of the world's surface is covered by water. In order to see the world, you really have to be in the water. I was a scuba dive instructor and realized that I had a passion for the ocean and needed to work as a marine biologist. So when the position in water quality came up, I knew that was my job. As an environmental specialist at the Port of Los Angeles, I wear many hats. I primarily oversee stormwater quality. I am the sustainability coordinator for the Port of Los Angeles, and I oversee the management of a 15-acre endangered California least-tern nesting site. We at the Harbor Department ensure that the birds are as successful as they can be. My job is to go around and visit all of our tenants, from the large industrial operators to the restaurants